Now that's scary.
Oh,
hey, how you doing?
Oops. Well,
Mike's on.
sorry.
No, I think the guy in the front row is good looking.
I was
think he
reacting
looks
to
like a
our
dork.
pictures on that screen.
Yes.
Oh, and the clock is running. Welcome, everybody. We don't have an official moderator, so we're going to kind of wing this ourselves.
Budget cuts.
You know, those digital channels do it mean and lean, and I guess so does NATPE now. We're going to introduce ourselves and show our shameless video promotion to start each of our introductions, and I think I've been elected to be shameless first.
You have?
I'm Neal Sabin from Weigel Broadcasting, the home of this TV network that we cooperate with MGM in producing out of Chicago, and MeTV network, classic television network that we produce in Chicago and MGM distributes for us. And here is my video. Somewhere. Over there?
Hey, you're just in time. The promo for my show is coming on.
I'm Lou Grant. Mary asked me to do a promo for MeTV.
You want to see me, Lou?
Not now, Ted.
I love me, I'm wild about sweet me. I love me, only me, so I'm content, you see.
What do you want from me?
Let me guess.
That's me, I guess.
That's me.
Watch me on MeTV.
Come on, Mary, you'll love it.
Watch me on MeTV.
Oh, happy days are here again.
Watch me on me.
Why me, Marion?
Watch me on me.
Afternoon, everybody. Me.
MeTV's take on fair and balanced.
Dr. Hartley, I had this dream that I had a television show on MeTV.
You know, you're a wonderfully creative person, but have you ever thought about getting out of show business?
Enter a world known as the Late Night MeTV Zone, where this little child controls your television, watching Perry Mason.
Don't make any noise when the music's playing.
MeTV's version of foul language.
They're talking about Fred. They're talking about Fred. Yeah, they're saying cheap, cheap, cheap.
There are many follically challenged characters in the history of television.
Hey, so I am.
But one man stands head and shoulders above the rest.
Look, I've got a great deal of work to do. Go ahead, tear your hair out.
Not him. Me.
And now a merry mishap on MeTV.
You're a little bit nervous, Laura, but tell me, now listen, have you ever been to Alan Brady's house?
Oh, yes.
Huh? Does he wear his toupee at home?
Oh, golly, yes, he wears it all the time.
You mean that Alan Brady is really bald? Well, then why does he wear a toupee?
Oh, hi, Rhoda. Yes, I saw it.
Well, that's it, ladies, the secret's out.
Rhoda, it wasn't funny.
You're gonna need radar just to get in the kitchen.
MeTV's version of Hoarders, running 50 different shows every week. And that's the way Me likes it.
MeTV.
MeTV. MeTV. MeTV.
It's a pinch of laughs and a dash of fun. All right, who the hell wrote this?
Yow.
And the nice thing, all of those stars did that because they love what we're doing. There weren't any fees, talent. Are there any agents in here? No fees, no, nothing. They just did it because they like what we're doing and had a lot of fun with it. This TV, the all-movie network, is in about 85% of the U.S. households now. MeTV is pushing 75% of the households after its first year in distribution. And now, who did we decide is next?
I think it's
Emily.
me. Yes. Hi, I'm Emily Barr, and I run WLS-TV in Chicago. And in my spare time, because it's not enough to do, I help run the Live Well Network, which we started about 3 years ago in April of '09 on our ABC-owned stations, and we're now in about 58% of the country. We're the only, I think, digital network out there with original programming content, and you know, we're having a lot of fun with it. It's lifestyle programming, and it's designed to really entertain you as well as give you some things to think about. So here's a little clip so you can see our shameless sizzle reel.
The Live Well Network. Find your place to explore.
And now, apparently, I've landed on Mars.
Indulge.
My mouth is so watering I can hardly talk.
Laugh.
It doesn't look very good when I do it. Sorry.
The hosts of the Live Well Network have the passion.
I want to help inspire you
to take you there.
We're going to do a grilled duck breast with a mixture of duck leg and couscous to go with it and an orange sauce. They're just,
And you can see these old trails just exist everywhere and go down to these great little platform kind of rocks. I mean, this is really cool.
Jorge! I want to help you to live the life of your dreams. That's a good start.
We're about to meet a family where the traditions of Italian cooking are being handed down from generation to generation. Of course, I am going to go to the other one. What are you yelling at me for? I'm going to tell them, don't worry. But that's my fault.
Balance.
Because I have a full-time job and I have 2 kids, we're going to make this really easy.
Save.
Just because it's cheap doesn't make it a great deal.
Play.
I want to have a race. I have never had so much fun working with tools. Let's go through the last one. Talking about these 2.
Everyday living is more fun.
I'll see you guys down at the lodge.
With the Live Well Network. This is one ride you won't want to miss. The Live Well Network.
So we're producing most of those shows ourselves at our ABC-owned stations. And when we originally designed it, we did it on purpose to be network agnostic so that we could take this out to any station, whether it was an ABC station, NBC, Fox, independent station. And as I said before, we're on about 58% of the country right now and growing every day.
I'm Sean Compton with Tribune, and we have a classic television network as well, very similar to MeTV, but with a different lineup, and we'll discuss kind of how we complement each other here in a little bit. So we'll run our tape, but we're in about 45 million homes on cable. We're at 60% of the country, U.S. coverage right now, and about 60 affiliates.
What exactly is Antenna TV?
Leave me alone, oldies. I want to watch TV.
It's an old-timey retro TV network that's taking America by storm.
Sit down, Melvin, and watch it with me.
It's TV how it was meant to be.
Let's run it up the antenna and check the reception.
Antenna TV's collection of America's most beloved shows from the 50s through the 90s deliver the kind of classic programming that both viewers and advertisers demand. The rapid growth of Antenna TV now numbers over 60 affiliates, including 8 of the top 10 markets, and has partnered with some of America's largest station groups. Combine that with a rabid fan base of classic TV lovers on Facebook and Twitter, Antenna TV's word of mouth is growing faster than Edith can set the table. But let's not forget what makes Antenna TV so successful. It's the shows.
Three's Company, All in the Family, Married with Children, The Nanny, Mad About You, Dennis the Menace, Soap, Good Times, Benny Hill, Dragnet, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Sanford and Son, The Partridge Family,
And coming this March, WKRP in Cincinnati.
AM on the mighty KRP where the doctor always delivers.
There you have it, folks. America's newest and greatest television network that truly is TV how it was meant to be.
Antenna TV.
So we launched Antenna TV a year ago and have grown pretty quickly. Obviously, the Tribune footprint kickstarted 30% of the country in clearances, and then we quickly grew. Unlike Neal, who's partnered with MGM on distribution, we self-distribute Antenna TV.
When Rick Feldman talked about doing this session, he said, how come all these networks are coming out of Chicago? It's not Hollywood, it's not New York. What is it about Chicago that that made this happen? And I thought, well, that's a panel for about 20 seconds. 2 of the companies are headquartered there, and Emily's really bright. And that's the end of the panel, I thought. But there's more to it, and Emily had a good observation on this.
Yeah, I think one of the, Neal, we were talking about this earlier, and I think one of the reasons is because we're neither New York or LA. We're in the middle of the country. We're a little bit what I call flyover country. So we can try some things in Chicago, and we have a long history of doing a lot of original production, not the least of which obviously is Oprah. But there have been a lot of things that have come out of Chicago in the form of talk shows, Donahue, Jerry Springer, some court shows, things like that. And I think we have a culture there that likes to try and do production. And neither coast, always pays that much attention, so we can do things that we like to do.
And a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit that occurs. And while we are third largest DMA, we're also kind of Midwest and kind of big small town in some ways. And there's been that history there, as you said. And the people up here are kind of involved in organizations that encourage developing these kinds of products.
We also believe with all the spectrum that we have, it should be utilized. And these aren't hobbies. These have become businesses that took a pretty significant investment. We paid a lot of money to the studios for these programs. Emily produces a lot of money for quality, high-definition programming. So we have put a big investment into these projects. And, have turned these into real businesses. We get ratings in a number of our markets that we subscribe and will often beat big shows. There have been nights where we beat Entertainment Tonight in a top 30 market. And the CBS guys aren't too thrilled about that. But that I say that, I don't really care because they sold all their product to Neal. So we're beating them with Good Times, which is a Sony show.
They still have Whirlybirds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, to Sean's point, this is a business, and I think all of us are realizing we can make money. One of the things we wanted to do with Live Well, which I think we've done very successfully, is we wanted to create programs that could air, that you would be proud to air on your main channel, on your D1, say on the weekends, which would then in turn promote the D2 channel, the Live Well network. And that's in fact what's happened. So some of these shows that we have produced air, for example, on WLS on Sunday morning, or on WABC, or any of our affiliates, WFAA, for example. And that, in turn, helps them sell the network because they can cross-sell it across both channels, and it helps promote the network so that people will go find it, whether it be on cable or over the air. It's a huge, we possess the single greatest promotional platform is our main channel. And most of us, I don't think we're really utilizing it to the best that we could to promote the other channels.
And to both of your points, I think all of us here who are so invested in the business want our affiliates and the people considering doing digital networks to understand this can be a really good local business, whether you're, in our case, we have some primary affiliates or a digital affiliate, but that we want you to, don't even think of us as digital networks. We are networks, branded networks, that should be treated as a real asset and not a placeholder, throwaway, got to put something on just to do it. That we have the energy and the resources put into making these things. You see what the graphics look like on Antenna TV and the quality of the first-run shows on Emily's network. This is not a placeholder idea. These are viable, in a lot of ways, you can say, duopolies. And they should be treated that way without having to go through the FCC of, buying another station and getting approval and spending, a few $1 million or whatever it is to get another station. You have one right now with your digital signal, and you can affiliate with any of our networks or the Hispanic networks that are out there and some of the other entertainment networks. There's a lot of opportunity out there. All of us talk about how we'd like to see that be used.
We chose to go the classic TV route on the Tribune side because there's a passion for these shows. I mean, everyone that watched that reel just saw something that tugged, I remember watching that when I was young, or in syndication, or in the case of some folks, Dennis the Menace when it was fresh. That is, today we announced WKRP to our Facebook fans. Well, there's 16,000. We've already had 400 responses. So it's a very active following to classic television. And I think it has a halo effect. I mean, what Emily does is a little harder because it's original content, and what we're doing is a lot of times not sexy when you're running, Alfred Hitchcock. But the reality is there's a large audience that out there that does not have cable. They're relying on over the air, especially when the digital conversion in second rooms in the home, that you're seeing an audience come from there besides the cable penetration that we have. That's just relying on the over-the-air antennas.
The other thing I would say is we all fought really hard for this bandwidth that we have, for the spectrum that we have, and for stations to have it and not use it, or to use it but not sell it, is really a shame, because it wouldn't be hard for the FCC to come back and say, give it back to us, you're not using it. So I know in our case, a few years ago, we all sat down in our group and we talked about the best way to use what we then referred to as beachfront property that didn't even have a shack on it, and how could we use it and really make it of value. And we chose to go with original programming, but whether you choose to go original or you choose to go with classic or whatever,
or both.
Use it.
Or both.
Or both. Or both.
We've got some examples here. Emily, what is on WLS in Chicago?
Right. So we have an unusual situation. We run Live Well both in high definition and in standard definition. So we actually have a D2 that's in HD and a D3 in SD. And of course, we run our main channel in HD. It is totally possible to run that much high definition programming. It doesn't have to be done that way. Most of our affiliates outside of the ABC group run us in SD, and then they are probably holding back a little bit of spectrum for the advent of mobile. The truth is, we're all going to get to a point where this spectrum is going to become more and more efficient. So you're going to be able to get more in, not less. And so there's really, the sky's the limit, and you're running multiple channels as well.
And for those who, there's some belief out there from some folks that you can't go deep, and you ought to be maximizing all the space. We're doing a .2, a .3, and a .4 in New York City, and we have the Mets. So anyone that says, you can't do sport, yes, you can. And we have a number of markets that are doing a .2 and .3. So, we ought to be maximizing all the space. And there are some places where Neal with MeTV and Antenna TV will coexist even within the same spectrum, because we don't have the same shows. We have classic television shows. So I've got On the Family, Three's Company. He's got, his array of programming. We have different shows. In some cases, we've even partnered on buying shows, so we don't, compete with each other. And I also, we took a window on Leave It to Beaver. He wanted it, I wanted it. And I said, look, instead of us fighting over it, I'll buy it for 18 months. You buy it for 18 months, because to get it exclusive was going to require a lot more dollars at stake. And so we found a way to coexist.
And actually, the distributor ended up with
more money because he sold it to two different people.
One situation. We run 4 SDs and 1 HD in Chicago on WCIU. We have Cubs, Sox, and Bulls games that are part of an agreement we have with the Tribune company. We've run Bears games in cooperation with Emily in HD without tiling, and had 4 other streams using a statistical multiplexer. A StatMux allows you to do these things. You can do it, and you can deliver all of that programming to the over-the-air audience, and if it's compelling enough, you can probably get it all on cable.
The other thing is, this is our answer when we go out to sell this, and I know you probably both feel the same way. This is like our answer to local cable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money tied up in local cable that none of us used to see. And you can now take the ratings, and we do have ratings on these channels, and you can sell it to advertisers who might not otherwise be interested in your station because of the cost of the spots on that station. But you put them over on the D2 or the D3, and you do some clever tie-ins and promotions with them, you can have a great revenue stream here, and it's something that doesn't take that much more effort.
The markets that say they can't make money with it are the ones that aren't trying. We have a few markets, small and large. There's a small market not owned by Tribune. It's market 75, 80. It's doing almost $1 million on the digital net, and locally. And then we have major markets that are doing a lot of money. But there is money to be made.
I find it strange when we get asked, how do you sell this, by people who own, manage, run, sell television stations. And I have to say, well, you sell it it like it's television. That's the mindset of having to change, that this is just like your other stream. It's going into all the homes. It's on your signal like your main channel. So treat it like one, sell it like one. You know, you can work with Nielsen. They have, you don't have to pay double for your Nielsen costs to get, you know, your channel rated if you're in an overnight market. It's just the whole mindset of how do I sell this? It's how do you sell television? We tell our people you have more avails with 5 streams than anyone but Comcast in the market. Figure out ways to utilize it.
Take questions?
Sure.
Questions?
This is for Neal. Right now you're running 5 stations on the WCIU. At what point do you start to fragment your audience with this TV to MeTV, where you may be hurting the ratings off one for the other?
Well, there have been some surveys where we've looked at the Nielsen numbers to see, like, if the U2 was siphoning off people from CIU, because it's somewhat similar programming. In the last survey, the audience that we were getting in Access, for example, that we thought might be coming out of CIU was actually not coming out of there. But the next book, it changes, and it's Nielsen numbers. So who knows? But we do it with a little bit of strategic scheduling of what's where. This is an all-movie channel. MeTV is the classic TV, and one of the ways that we look at this is these people are looking for something else to watch, might as well be something else that we control than one of the other competitors in the market. And that, you know, have we siphoned some numbers off? Maybe, yeah, but we've siphoned them to our own place. And I think one of the biggest challenges is the numbers for everybody get smaller as there are 300, 400, 500 channels or whatever, is to figure out how to do that cum sale, how to be able to do a roadblock across 4 or 5 different things in the same time period and deliver probably a broader audience than you can with one.
One of the things we discovered, and I'm not saying this to malign any syndicators in the room, but we realized years ago that we were picking up a lot of stuff on the weekends, you know, on all of our stations to run, you know, for Saturday and Sunday fill. And we thought, well, if we're producing our own shows for LiveWell, why wouldn't we use those very same programs, run them on our main channel, use those to promote LiveWell, get people to come over and see the rest of LiveWell. So that's, in fact, another way to bring in an order, because if you can do a couple of rating points on a Saturday or Sunday with a program from LiveWell and promote the rest of the LiveWell network in that time period, you've got a double win, because an advertiser can be brought in on both sides, D1 and D2, or D1, D2, and D3 in our case. And, you know, they'll discover the network, and the ratings have shown and, you know, that they're growing in all of our markets, especially where stations are running the programs on the weekends. So it's been a great win for the advertiser and for the ratings.
For me and Antenna TV, we're actually filling a big hole, because TV Land is even doing originals. And they just ordered up a whole bunch of new original programs. So you don't have anyone really running these shows. And we have Soap. When was the last time you saw Soap on television? I mean, and there are shows like the announcement with KRP. That's not even available on DVD because the licensing was such a pain in the ass. So we put, you know, we paid the residual and, you know, was able to license it on the network. But we have a lot of shows that, again, like I said, there's a passionate following for them. And, you know, anyone that channel surfs, especially on odd hours where programming is tough to find, programming you want to watch, and you see a show like a Soap or a KRP or All in the Family that isn't really that overexposed on broadcast or on cable anymore.
Any other questions?
Most of the national business right now is, I think, DR business. Do you see the ratings getting higher in the future, so that might change and you'll get regular advertising down the road?
Yeah, well, I mean, Joe, in our case, we are doing not only some national business, but we're doing a lot of sort of properly placed product integration, because we are doing original production. So we can, for example, in a cooking show, we can go to a General Mills or someone like that, and we can do, we did a big promotion with Walgreens, another example. So I think that we are seeing the DR, of course. I mean, I think all of us are. But as we do see the ratings go up, we are seeing more and more interest. And
we are 100% DR right now. When we get to a certain point in both distribution and maturity, we'll take a look at Nielsen and go that route. The question for us on a national basis is, with rating guarantees and all, and make goods, is the DR business and the burgeoning DR business a better business to be in than to chase that money? We'll see. We've been on the air a year. This has been very successful, going on 3 years now. We're working with Nielsen to take a look at that and see if it makes some sense. I know that having O&Os for MeTV in places like Milwaukee, where we have gotten on political buys and we've got major agencies buying us, it's because the station does do ratings and because we've got Scarborough research and the things that, again, it's a real television station. It's not some digital sub-channel that you just put on to save space. You got to treat it that way if you have the mindset for it, starting with everyone in master control. If there's something wrong on the digital sub-channel, it's just as important, because like Sean said about the way people are passionate about those shows, I will bet you that if one of his shows gets screwed up on an affiliate or the affiliate goes off the air, there may be more calls for antenna TV than there are for the main channel, which can scare some operators. I see Bina is nodding her head. It's, these are passionate people who love these shows.
It's true. And the other thing, when I mentioned the small market that's doing almost $1 million, they promote it every hour. You got to cross-promote it. You got to treat it like it's a real station, because it is. You're just using more spectrum. Any over-the-air television set can now get it, and in many homes, you're wired for cable, or you have cable carriage.
Any other questions? Got about 3 minutes. Because I'll ask one then.
Go ahead,
Okay. Sean.
Why me first?
Emily.
Yes, Neal.
Okay. Let's ask Sean something.
Okay.
Now, what would you do differently now that you've done it for a year or so, you think?
When we started Live Well, we made a decision at the time to produce everything in high def, which we still do. And we started by running it in high def. And that probably affected our ability to get clearances beyond our group, because so many stations were kind of hoarding their spectrum, hoping the mobile thing was going to happen like right around the corner. We then realized that we needed strategically to make it available in SD. So all the content is produced in high def, but is now available in SD, so that stations that don't want to use up that much bandwidth. So maybe I would have changed that approach initially. I think in the beginning, if you go back 4 years ago when we were planning this, we thought HD would be the big differentiator. It is, in the sense that the quality is really good, but it wasn't enough, to get a station to pick it up and say, okay, I'll run it. So I might have just gone with the SD side of things.
Okay. Would you go back to that, or are you going to stay the course?
Well, we're going to continue to produce everything in HD. It doesn't cost us any more money to produce in high def. And it's the
Did all the syndication people hear
It doesn't cost any more money to produce in high def. It just doesn't. The cameras, some of the cameras that we use for production are literally this big. They don't cost a lot of money. The show Motion, which is the outdoor show, I defy anyone to show me a show that's better produced in terms of outdoor beautiful, the beauty of outdoors. And it's literally a camera this big. So, if someone says to you it costs too much to produce in HD, you go to Costco and pick up an HD camera. I'm telling you, they're out there.
Now, Sean, you've had like 2 minutes to come up with a really great answer.
I did. I
It's
came
funny
up with
now.
It.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to be funny today. Probably the one thing that we've fixed our problem. I think originally we launched with really the bare minimum of programming that we had licensed, and we had a pretty good lineup of shows. So I think the first 6 months was a lesson learned that we needed to go deeper. And fortunately, because antenna TV was growing quickly, and we were making it work, we were able to invest in more product. So we have made that investment. And that was probably our first initial mistake, was we didn't go deep enough initially, but we're there now.
Have you guys thought about trying to go to guilds at all and reduce the residual costs on some of these, because the figures are so low, so it will allow other shows to become available?
They're leaving money on the table. The guilds are leaving money on the table.
So is there any conversations going on with you guys and the guild to change that so you can sell your best stuff?
We've talked about it. Yeah, we've talked about it. But again,
yeah,
it's a real issue because the residuals. I mean, there's a very serious problem there that there are folks that are leaving money on the table because they can't sell to us because we can only spend. You break down a 24-hour day, you can only spend so much, an hour, for programming on these networks, and you have to be able to get a deal within the range that you can make work. And there's certain shows that Different Strokes is a great show, but the residual is so high, neither one of us will ever air it.
Right. And for people who don't know, there's a discrepancy between what broadcast has to pay and cable pays. Cable, I think, is 11% of the total sale price, left from the days when cable was the poor, emerging platform, and broadcast is left from the days of 3 networks. And
Tribune just recently brought in Bob Cook, who's an expert. He's going to fix all those problems for us.
Globally, right?
Yes,
globally.
For everybody.
Right.
Because it should be consistent. Because those are the kind of ratings that it does, and if you let us, you guys move on.
Yes.
We'd like that.
It'll be expensive,
We got about a minute left.
This is just a 1-minute question.
Gary, yes.
With all the new networks being born, such as Fox and Espanol today, Mundo Fox, are you going to have a harder time with distribution, getting your channels on in markets? I know, Neal, you said 75%. Sean, you said 60% with antenna. Would you look at low-power television stations for distribution, pending the fact that it's going to be harder for you guys to get coverage?
I don't know if it is going to be harder to get coverage, given that more of these broadcast groups are going to see that groups like Tribune and Weigel and Disney ABC have .2s, .3s. I mean, there actually is going to be plenty of room as soon as some of these broadcasters. CBS hasn't decided what they're going to do yet. At least they haven't done anything yet. You have other groups, NBC, with a lot of space out there.
They're rumbling that they're going to do something. And
right.
Yeah. So do you go deeper? I think there will be room for us. Now, obviously, more players means more competition for real estate. But for now, I think if you can get the broadcasters to focus on using all the bandwidth, I think we'll be fine.
Is that going to leave you enough room for mobile?
That's a totally different panel.
The other thing is, I think, and I can only speak for our business, but our models are made that we don't have to have 90% of the country to be successful in the business.
Thank you.
And Gary, you're a great example of someone who's taken low power and full power TV and digital networks and done some creative things with it.
That's it.
Thanks. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.